We're live. What is going on with my hair? I feel like I look crazy. Hey guys. I didn't even see what was going on until this popped up. I'm like, what is happening here?
This is what's going on.
Totally fine. Hey everybody. Happy Tuesday. Happy Thanksgiving almost. We're excited to be here with you to talk about the Artist Way. We're week 10.
Look at that. It's interesting. That's not all pages. Some of that's like index and glossary, but
Yeah,
probably
it actually doesn't look that impressive.
Is it about
So we're actually really close to the end.
Yeah, we are including next week, 3 weeks away, right? From the end.
Yep. So, I was telling Ginny that I had a nice little breakthrough this week. It's been a lot of like ups and downs, and I've been plateauing a little bit over the past couple weeks and feeling a little bit stuck. But I had a nice breakthrough and have been enjoying my pages and actually got out for an artist date this week. And what do you know? That immediately after I went out for my artist date, I sat down and made music, which I've been struggling to do for weeks now.
Wow.
So it works if you do it. It's just like the work is doing it. But yeah, it's really nice to feel the shifts when they happen. How about you? How was your pages and artist date?
Let's see. I don't know if I had my artist date this past week. Like things got really intense and I put it off when I really shouldn't have. I did 4 out of 7 pages, so I'm at a little bit of a plateau right now. It was a lot of struggle. I had a lot of illness and probably self-manifested illness, which I think definitely relates to this week's reading that we're doing. Self-created sabotage right now. And so I definitely had some blocks I was dealing with. But every time I did do the pages, it was always rewarding. So I think the fact that I'm now channeling, like every time I'm rewarded in some way, some synchronicity, that's been really good feedback to keep doing it. And so I did it today, and I'm so thankful I did. And I even read the tarot of my own personally today for my own self that said, like, you're supposed to be going through this. So I'm like, okay, it's been a muddy week, but I'm supposed to walk through the mud to get to the cleaner pasture.
Yep, the ebbs and flows of life and even the slower periods definitely have important information, and we gotta rest, and we gotta, sometimes I think of Ram Dass talking about how one time he went to a cabin, or he like created his own meditation retreat, and he went out there and all he wanted to do, this is Ram Dass, right? Like it's the man, like the meditation man, the guru. And he was like, all I wanted to do was drink beer and watch TV. And he was like, for the first half of the retreat, that's what I did. And I just was like, spent the first day or two feeling bad about it. And then I kind of just like said, screw it, and enjoyed it. And then by the 3rd or 4th day, I was sick of doing that. And I actually genuinely wanted to get into my practice and actually meditate, and then had really powerful experiences. So I don't know. That story always brings me some comfort when I'm like doing things that I'm judging myself for, or like feeling like off kilter, like I'm not doing the right thing. Sometimes you just and you just have to like let yourself until you're sick of your own shit and you want to get back on. It's like sometimes falling off just reinvigorates the practice and makes it more genuine. You're not doing it out of obligation, but instead out of genuinely wanting to.
Sorry, I have a little pinchedness from sitting around for a while. We're also sitting on a heated blanket right now.
It's so cozy.
It is very cozy, very Buddha. We got a candle as well. It's a very cozy space. The lights are brighter for some reason in camera than they are in real life, so that's good for you, but definitely it doesn't show the full mood of the space. All right, so but check-in wise, did you do much writing this week?
I did. I really honestly don't like count anymore.
If you could go on a vibe.
Yeah. I would say probably 50%
Okay.
of the week, which honestly is
For coming
better
out
than
of
I've been
for coming
doing.
out of your rut though, that's like a big progress, right?
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I still really struggle like when I have to work.
Yeah.
First thing, you know, when I just have a full day, and if I can't get it in before I start, then when I get back, I'm like, whatever, the day's almost over, and I just kind of blow it off.
It definitely helps me to start making things, because it is hard. Because my process is to do the writing, to do the tarot, and then to come up with my plan for the rest of the day, where I write out a to-do list. It's very difficult to do that in the morning and then do work and then come back to that list. So I have found that on days that I'm not working, like weekends and such, or holidays, it's wonderful to do it when I wake up, because I am in control fully of that whole day and how it flows. But then when it comes to working in the morning, which is normally done by 2, it's difficult to make that separation. For sure.
Yeah, but I can certainly see how it would be really beneficial, even if I'm not going to be doing creative work, just to center myself. And I've been reading a lot of stuff and listening to Joe Dispenza, who talks a lot about the power of meditation practice and epigenetics, which is basically the understanding that we have the power to change our environment and our body and our body's response to the environment through meditation and mindfulness practice. He talks about calling your energy and creating your own like field of energy. So typically, if we wake up and start thinking about like all these external things and sending our energy into the people and the places and the all this stuff that externally, it's basically like all of our energy like is being sucked out of our, like we're spread, we're scattered. Our energy is very scattered. Versus if we take that time to center and then actually start creating our own versus like sending it out and holding it in and like creating energetic boundaries around ourselves, that we actually are going to move through the world in a totally different way, and people are going to, you're just going to be more efficient, and things are going to
they'll come to the table more sensitively too, and be able to read an email without taking anything personally, or like manage some situations with less fatigue, which would be good for me too.
Yeah, so really just like full presence. I think the pages are really helpful.
They are very helpful.
That same kind of thing, where you're like getting, really bringing your attention inward first versus.
And this really also learning the value of keeping your own counsel. That else, it's really great to actually discuss things that I'm feeling with myself first before I discuss it with others, if I choose to discuss it with others, which for me, I normally do choose to discuss it with others. Like, I'm a pretty open book, sadly. But it is good for me to vet how I'm feeling first before coming to that. But that actually goes into this week's topic, which is recovering a sense of self-protection. And I feel like she's really calling us out right now. Like, last week was a little bit more sensitive, and this week is just like, you're at the point, like we're near the end here. You have to make some choices here. And she starts off with dangers of the trail. All right, I'll do a quick description. So this week we explore the perils that can ambush us from our creative path. Because creativity is a spiritual issue, many of the perils are spiritual perils, and this really relates to what I think I've been going through. In the essays, tasks, and exercises of the week, we search out the toxic patterns we cling to that block our creative flow. So dangers of the trail, she actually opens up talking about blocks and resistance. And this, I'll read to you the thing that really struck out to me, and also kind of what like happened to me this week. For some people, food is a creativity issue. Eating sugar or fats or certain carbohydrates may leave them feeling dulled, hungover, and able to focus blurry. They use food to block. Now, I have a issue with dairy tolerance these days, and it has some pretty negative side effects, like including the fact that I just feel really ill. So I had, guess what? Like the last couple of days that I was sick, I happened to also have dairy. So I'm pretty sure that was probably a self-caused issue, but I think it's definitely a form of a block in my own progress because what do you know? Those same 2 days I didn't do my pages. Those same 2 days I didn't do any of my creative work. Like I just sat on the couch and felt awful. And then, but it is interesting reading this again and going, yeah, I think she called me out. She's just good.
She's good at that.
She's really good at that. And then she goes into that one relates to me, but then she goes into other ways that we numb ourselves, including alcohol, sex, negative relations. I think a lot of us, we tend to manifest a lot of things and poke the bear and like cause problems in our life, or even call up someone just to get into their drama. Like we know like a distant friend is dealing with something, and so we'll call them up once to figure out, to dig into what they're dealing, just so that you can look away from your own work. So we all reach for blocks to slow our growth. And then she that struck to me too, is that this is a conscious thing, or maybe it's not conscious yet, but this is certainly a subconscious thing that's becoming conscious. You still have control over the behavior, but maybe you're finally seeing the pattern now of like why you can't do your pages, why you can't, what's keeping you from making a song, what's keeping you from dancing or drawing or doing the things that you like, what's keeping you from that artist date. I think if you actually look at that and you go, oh, well, I felt sick. What made me feel sick? And then just to work through that. And then she goes into the choice to block is a creative U-turn. This is a pretty dense section, actually. So these creative U-turns, did she talk about them last week too? I don't know if she introduced them last week or not. But the creative U-turns are when, you're going on a steady path and then literally like a block in the road happens on your path and you turn around, but often that block is put there by you. I think she did bring it up last week when she was talking about like turning down situations that maybe you were offered because you didn't think you were ready. Like not seeing what the universe has provided you. And so we will, even if no one else is blocking us, I think we will find our own ways to block ourselves from all the greatness. And then, it's so interesting because when you actually sit down to do the work, it's so simple.
And it feels so good, triumphant. Yeah, I mean, every time, I think the self-sabotaging force in everyone is like one of the strongest, most potent forces in the world.
Yeah.
Like, really. I mean, I think all the people that are out there doing harm are blocked artists.
Yeah, totally.
And so, like, every time we overcome that, though, it's just, like, so triumphant. And it's like not, it's just sitting down to do it. And then...
Yeah, and she ends right here with something that really struck me, and I remember telling it to everyone I knew. The ending of this section is, anxiety is fuel. We can use it to write with, paint with, or work with. And this I still have to remind myself, and it's so good because I feel like when we are anxious, that's when we tend to put these blocks in. Like I'm anxious about doing good things as well as doing bad things. And so I will eat food and get sick, and then that will manifest this anxiety into a reality. And like this anxiety is like this sort of energy that's going to go out one way or the other, and then we keep trying to stamp it down, when in fact we just need to release it into something. So being nervous, being tense, that's the time in which you should be working.
Worked well for me. Last night. Was that just last night? Yeah. I was sitting there, anticipating a difficult conversation and decided to, open up my laptop and work on a music I did
so
make.
beautiful.
A music came out.
She made something really beautiful too. I got to hear it earlier. It felt really special.
Felt triumphant to me
Mm-hmm.
because I have been struggling.
And that energy probably gave you actually some attention.
It gave me, yeah, exactly. It was kind of like how she's been talking about when you have challenging times kind of forcing you into the present moment because the future is too upsetting and the past is too upsetting. So this is the only safe moment.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it just brings a level of presence that is such a gift.
Yeah. I feel like perhaps that, that perception of all artists have like these difficult, suffering lives. I wonder how many of us create those sufferings so that we don't have to make work.
Mm-hmm.
But
yeah,
then
it doesn't have to be like that.
It doesn't have to be like that. And we can use the energy that we do to make our own pain, to make something beautiful and that we're also healing from. And then we go, oh. But it is a habit. I think that's like one thing that she really has to hit on here is that these are habits that we are only now just becoming conscious of, and that we need to, like any habit, you have to break it. And then
it's not easy.
It's not easy. And I think that's one thing. Like she's calling you on it here, but like
yeah,
it's not easy.
Yes. Yeah, I apologize for my sleepiness. I'm crashing. I was tattooed earlier and then went and did a bunch of other stuff and my body's like, okay, we're done now. I apologize. So yeah, this next section was a tricky one for me when I first did this because I thought it didn't apply to me. This is workaholism. And I was like, oh,
that's mushy. Sorry. We heard like the doorknob move and my youngest cat, Bushy, wants to get in. And she's smart enough that she knows that you turn the knob and it opens, but she doesn't have the force of a human hand. So she's like a ghost, like a creepy poltergeist. You just see like the knob going back and forth at night. But when we hear meow, like but she hears me talking about her, so she's being quiet.
Funny. But yes, I thought this didn't apply to me because I have this tendency to not focus on the work that actually makes me money, but that doesn't mean that I don't keep myself busy with self-inflicted work and don't allow myself freedom to relax, play, even if the projects are what other people might see as playful, like dance things or productions that I'm making, which I do enjoy, but I definitely have a sense of workaholism with them, and we'll blow off friends and family and things like that because I made myself busy. And then sometimes even I'll be like, oh no, I have too many projects to work on to go play this game with you or, do this fun thing. And then what I'll actually do is go home and just be blocked and not actually even accomplish anything. So anyway, this one, give it a second look if you think, oh, I'm not a workaholic. I hate working. It can be sneaky. And this is, so I underlined this part. If I had more time, I'd have more fun, we'd like to tell ourselves, but this is seldom the truth. And I think that's so true. It's really not like I've seen how I have not pretended, but like told myself that I have all these projects to do and that's why I can't just go have fun. I don't even work on them. And having fun and relaxing and being present is a practice. So if you are constantly practicing being preoccupied or, obsessed or anxious about all these things that you want to do, then that's going to be your state of being and it's going to become very difficult to have fun and relax even when you have the time. You're not even going to know how to do it. You have to practice it.
Yeah.
And really, fun and playfulness is a practice. So she has a quiz here for you to take to determine how severe your case of workaholism is. I would say it's, like any kind of condition, there's a spectrum and we all fall somewhere on the spectrum. So that will help you determine where you fit on the spectrum. And then she recommends that we set a bottom line. So once you kind of give this some thought, and be real honest with yourself about the ways that you deny yourself play or fun or even just attention, like to your family or whatever it might be, that you pick something and say, I will not do this anymore. And whether it's bring work with you on vacation or like not go out with your friends or see your family because of work or things like that. Just pick a bottom line to make it really specific.
I think also so many of us are go-getters by nature too. If you're probably doing this process now, you have a little bit of that within you. If you've gotten this far too, especially. But I think learning to say no, of doing other people's to-do lists and to focus on your own. Because that's what I would find with work, where it used to get really clogged as someone would be like, hey, do you want to lead this project? Do this fun thing. It's not ever that fun. And normally it looks really good and they're thankful for your extra work, but you can start to put limits. You can say like, well, I can do one thing. I'm sorry, if anyone asks me you to do another thing, so say, I'm sorry, I'm only doing this one thing. And I think that helped a lot in my own process. And then eventually that became like saying no to making a club when I didn't think it was necessary, like saying no to other people's. And sometimes it's just really good to set that boundary. And then for me, I know now workaholism definitely exists when, like, technically I could probably be done with my job at 2, but somehow I make it last till 3 every day. And that's because I'm trying to prepare for something to get ahead for the next week when I could just spend 30 minutes on Monday catching up on it without any stress. But, I instead take away a whole hour from today just because I need to nitpick and do this way. But that, I think what I know I'm blocking myself from is as soon as I close that computer, I have to open up my book and write. So I'm like, I need to check this real quick. Let me make sure. So that's where workaholism is existing for me now, and I need to like.
Yeah, it's so wild. I'm like fascinated by this saboteur. So that's what Caroline May's talking. She talks a lot about archetypes and stuff, and there's 4 that we all have within us, and the saboteur is one of those core 4 archetypes that every human being embodies. And that one just so intense and powerful and destructive.
And they are rampant and they exist everywhere. Like the saboteur like comes in all the time. Like, and even my sister-in-law is a holistic financial coach, which is a really interesting job, and I love it when she talks about it. She's doing really well with it, but she helps with debt recovery and different ways to think about money management. And she brings up every once in a while that we all have this number in our head that we're okay with in terms of debt or wealth, or cash or something, this number that we're okay with. And once we start to relate that number is our worth, all of a sudden, even if you get a huge raise, all this extra work, you will always spend this cash to get down to that number. You will never save because you feel like all of a sudden you're, there's like this anxiety, that saboteur comes in and goes, well, I have this goal to make, but somehow that's when you end up buying all these random things and you have money burning in your pocket. You get down to that number again of what you're worth. And then so it's like a really big trick of changing what you're comfortable with, changing what you're worth to actually benefit you. And I feel like a lot of that is worth too. Like, I don't always feel like I'm worth this extra time. But the job that I'm getting paid for is telling me I'm worth this much money, so I'm going to work for them, not for me, who's giving me infinite joy in life. Invaluable.
Yeah.
But I think that goes right into drought. So there's a few things I framed in here, but drought is essentially when you run out of inspiration, when you're wondering why you're doing this. I think we have all gotten to this process because at some point we've experienced long bouts of drought, knowing that we're capable of more, but can't find the energy or the place to start again. It seems so easy when you're a kid, even like in high school. in a program that's structured and they're giving you assignments and you're just fulfilling them. But now that you're generating it on your own, it's just like you're dehydrated. During a drought, the mere act of showing up on the page, like the act of walking through a trackless desert, requires one footfall after another to no apparent point. So, she's really talking about showing up right now, even though it doesn't make sense. Even though yesterday your pages sucked, even though you haven't had synchronicity in a month, even though this showing up. And then she repeats here, and yet we write our morning pages because we must. So to start saying that out loud or writing it in your book, or like, I write my morning pages because I must. I'm doing this because I must. And then you can justify that as you go on, but whatever you can do to reinforce you into this ritual, this practice, this habit. She really wants it right now. She's so jealous. And then she reminds us that droughts do end. So this time will come to an end if you have been without. You'll make it, and I know I will. I know you will. I know we all will. As we just put one foot in front of the other.
Totally. And yeah, this next section is about fame.
I'm gonna live forever.
I think part of what can feel really scary about drought is like this fear that we're running out of time, or that we have to reach a certain level of notoriety or fame before we reach a certain age or whatever. And I think it is a really sneaky kind of lure that drives us, like, and it's so vague, and is such a something that once you achieve a certain level of it, it's empty, and we see that all the time. I think Jim Carrey is one of my favorite current examples of somebody who like achieved the dream and then was like, dude, this sucks. Like, this was a lie. This whole thing was a lie.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of people that we consider to be really famous that kind of have those same insights. And let they try to tell you from the top, like, you don't want to come here.
Yeah.
It's not all it's cracked up to be.
The Fly of the Conchords just did a stand-up too, where they literally like, we haven't seen you in 10 years. Well, we haven't seen you either. But they choosing to leave the limelight for quite some time because it felt better.
Yeah. So I think, it's always great to kind of, because it's natural. I mean, of course, anybody who's making stuff wants people to appreciate it and wants to feel that sense of respect within their artistic community, or, wants to even better make money doing what they do so that they don't have to work other jobs and all this kind of stuff. There's so many appealing things about gaining a lot of attention in your work. And I think that that's natural. But just recognizing that, like I was talking about before, being satisfied creatively and having fun in your life, enjoying your life, is a practice. And so any kind of like seeking any benefit of your work, or any, getting anything in return from external validation, is going to ultimately not be fulfilling.
Yeah.
Because you've been practicing not feeling fulfilled until you get that. And so you will be how you practice. But she has some lovely things to say here about how to take care of yourself when you feel like you're falling into the fame trap. And she says here, remember, treating yourself like a precious object will make you strong. What's in order here is a great deal of gentleness and some behavior that makes you like yourself. So she's really pointing to the fact that seeking that external validation is a sign that you are not internally validating.
Yeah.
And that you are, not loving yourself very well. And I had such a lovely experience with that. Yeah, this week. What I think also helped me unblock was a similar kind of thing, where I started finding myself asking myself, like, how can I take care of you right now? Like like thinking about having a partner or a lover who was with me, who would, and that's kind of what I was doing around my birthday. I find that that's one of the most nourishing practices that I don't do enough, but when I do it, it is so healing to just be like how would I want someone to love me right now? Like how can I love me right now? And I started like cleaning up around my space. Here, let's get you some food and get you to bed. I was just like taking such gentle, sweet care of myself, and it changes everything.
Aww.
We don't need anybody else to do that for us, and
yeah.
we don't need we don't need an audience, we don't need fame.
Yeah,
we really don't, if it's just about that gentle nurturing of yourself.
Especially when it comes to social media. I know that can be a real vice, especially in mine.
God, so bad. It's worse and worse.
Yeah.
I want it out of my situation.
I've become less obsessed with Facebook, and now, my Instagram was how I built up like the worth equating to money again. How I built up my business and like my followership was through Instagram and through posting, and then which now has made a conditioned response to like if I'm not doing something on there, it doesn't have to be high quality, but if I'm not active, then that attention will die, and then thus my profits will die. And it's interesting how if I don't have sales for a while, like my posts just go up and up, and not even fully conscious of the flow anymore. But even now, I'm just like, I just gotta do anything, post anything. And then versus my personal Instagram, which is like, this is a revelation I felt, and then I document that, and like that's like, I'm not sending a message to anyone. I'm honestly talking with myself, and then every once in a while, I have a friend that chimes in the conversation, which is a very different feel. But like that fame push again, I have to remind myself, especially if you're like me and you have these multiple aspects that are truly split identity wise, you have to constantly find different parts of yourself that you're selling in that image. I think I need to go back off and like recycle old posts right now. Stop generating new ones. Just like go back to the bottom of the feed, pull out some old ones and say, flashback to this time.
Yeah. Well, and she says, when the fame drug hits, go to your easel, your typewriter, your camera or clay, pick up the tools of your work and begin to just do a little creative play. That just like warmed me so much to think of that, when you are just feeling overwhelmed with the push to get somewhere with your work, to just go and enjoy the play of it. And that's it. Like, that's just makes it's like a little candle burning inside my heart. Like everything is okay. Because I think about that moment when I just start to dance or make a dance, or when I was sitting down and actually starting to feel the flow of the song coming up, and everything's okay in those moments.
Wow. So true. Yeah, it's like I remember when I was feeling really tense and I made a pretty painting, but all the tension really like made me zone out. It was really wonderful. And then things started moving, and then the problems in the back of your mind are no longer a big deal anymore because you're just focusing on the little problems at hand. So that same chaotic energy is all of a sudden like honed in to being like, oh, that's too light. Let me mix in a blue into there. Let me, manageable things that can become beautiful. So competition like branches right out of fame, and in fact she even ends fame with saying, only when we are being joyfully creative can we release the obsession with others and how they are doing. And those words, obsession, is definitely what I feel as a people pleaser by nature, is the obsession of how does this person feel, like, well, how can I change that, or how can I like jump on that? And not good, never good. Like, and that, but it is good to know when you are feeling that way, because that will lead to some reactions. So competition is another spiritual drug. When we focus on competition, we poison our own well. And that's, my business side, definitely there's a lot of competition involved in there. Even coming down to figuring out your own aesthetic, you're constantly researching to make sure no one else is doing that. Or if they are doing it, they're in a different form. It's this super obsession with being the unique part of that market before someone copies your style. Almost like so that you can have something to yell at someone about when they do copy it. Like it's this strange obsession, which isn't totally pure, but it's really strong in the self-generated craft side of the industry. As artists, we must go within. We must attend to what is our inner guidance and is nudging us toward. And there's the other book that we brought up last week, Big Magic. She brings up the situation in which she's written a story and put it to the side, and then another friend ended up picking up the story without them ever having to talk about it. And it's so close to one another. It's the exact story with some minor elemental changes. And she was even saying that she came to that situation, she could have been competitive. She could have been upset. She could have blamed someone for stealing or for sharing the idea that she was keeping veiled. She could have thought conspiracy theories. And she could have ruined that friendship. But instead she saw it as a beautiful opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
And just seeing maybe, in that same way, had I gone back in time in my craft career, if I could have sought out people doing something similar and then reached out to them. And I did at one point a lot. I was looking for a lot of people to collaborate with.
Mm-hmm.
So I was fine. I have all these. I still follow a lot of people who do gemmed wrap stones and stuff because I was like, let's make something together. We'll do a collab and do a giveaway, and then it would be for self-promotion, but at the same time we're making something together.
Mm-hmm.
And that was, I think, the purest, best way to move the competition side aside versus the negativity that it really started up with. And I definitely feel it now in the dance world as well, this competition that doesn't have to exist.
It really, really doesn't. And I have found one of my biggest ways of if I see somebody who triggers that in me, to me that's indicating I think that person is good at what they do. Yes. I should work with them.
Yeah. Yeah, that same way. They should collaborate. This is the collaborative feeling.
So healing.
That's wonderful. And then and I think too, acknowledging the competition when it comes out. I think we all experience it in our culture at different points in our growing up.
And it can be healthy, when both people you can, use that slight competitive edge to push yourself and each other to grow, but it has to be, I think, mutual and loving.
Yeah, because sometimes you'll come towards someone with a project and they're kind of blown away because they're like, I don't know if, wait. And then sometimes they'll be surprised and say yes, and then sometimes this is not the project for you with them, but you've extended your goodwill, and that I think still pays off.
Yeah, it's really healing. And so I always have been a fan of just kind of diving into those kinds of feelings, being like, but how do I just transform this by going into it? The thing that I'm afraid of, come here.
Yeah, that's such a good tool to have. And she ends this section with the most important advice, which is showing up for the work is the win that matters. So I think if you're going to be competitive, it's probably with your to-do list. It's with how many things can I cross off. And it feels really good when you do it. You're like, I'm going to generate these other things I did after that I wrote that to-do list that I also did and write the smaller tasks and cross those off too. Look at all that stuff I knocked out. I came across this really great meme story thing that went around where a kid was telling their mom, I want to be an astronaut. And so she turns around and tells them all the things that they would have to do to become an astronaut. And the kid goes, but that's only 5 things. He's like, I can do 5 things, whatever. And that's I feel like how we need to look at all these tasks.
Yeah, totally.
It's only 3 pages.
That reminds me, somewhere in this book, I can't remember if it's earlier or later, but she's like, don't give into the drama of overwhelm. It's just drama, because it's really not that bad. None of it is, and you will do it when it's time, and you will meet the day. There's absolutely no point in worrying about what you have to do later, because at this point in time, you don't have the necessary resources to do what you're going to need to do later. You'll have them then. That's the whole, it's a practice, though. I'm not claiming to be a master of this, but it's just presence.
But we're all learning.
Yeah, just how to stay present.
Okay.
I didn't
oh yeah.
tell you guys, but earlier I drew the Butterfly Maiden Goddess Oracle card, which is about transformation. The quote is, "You are experiencing enormous change right now, which brings great blessings." Which is true for me. Jenny's going to get the other deck, and Mushy is here, so you're going to see a kitty tail maybe if she keeps walking across.
She's checking out all the things.
She's real cute. There it is. There's that cat butt. But yeah,
she's beautiful.
Very apt for my personal situation, and I think really appropriate for this week's chapter because, yeah, I think when you're really in the throes of change is when these self-sabotaging things will really rear their ugly head.
It becomes that creative U-turn. Like when you're at the height, and there's times in your life when you did that, you're like, oh man, like I was gonna do this play, but I got a cold near the end. I just felt awful, so I jumped out, and they had to let the what's it called? The person who subs for you?
The understudy.
Let the understudy take over.
Theater major.
Yeah, like how many times do we deny ourselves these things, and even let the small physical things that could be overcome. Yeah. It's like denying your workout because you have a cold. Mm-hmm. I used to do that, and then I had a friend who was like, "You just run through it. You run through it,
and actually it helps.
It pours out, and then you're done, and then you feel great." And I'm like, "Oh, so you're saying that the exercise is also the remedy? Fuck." No, I can't say no.
No excuse.
All right. I have them all stretched out right here. Mushy's going to come check them out. She thinks I'm going to love her right now. I don't know if we can pay attention. She's like, is this me time? Yeah. A strong pull right here. Oh man, Mushy, you're throwing off my vibe.
Or is she nailing it?
We got the star. I've never pulled her before. Brand new card. Thanks, Mushy, for your vibe.
That's amazing. I love this.
I think that's beautiful. It looks like it kind of reminds me of you. Do you have an outfit like that?
I wish.
Is that could be your new belly dance outfit? I think we found your new dance outfit.
It's like blue and gold.
I think we found it. Number 17. What's the day? 20th? She purred back at you. Inspiration. I am hopeful and inspired by life right now, and everything that is happening points to a renewed sense of encouragement. After all the changes I have experienced, I'm starting to recognize the hope that comes with new beginnings. Mm-hmm. Beautiful.
Yeah, it is.
Just as we're nearing the end of this cycle, we're about to start off a new one with all these new changes. So, yay, synchronicity. It's all here.
Yep, the sun is about to leave Scorpio and go into Sagittarius. So that's basically like this is, or the Butterfly Maiden transformation is Scorpio, and this I feel like is Sagittarius.
My stars.
Yeah, that's where Ginny's sun is in her chart, which is all about that growth and expansion. So that's happening this week. So we're finishing up. We're shedding that skin, and it really is time to step into the newness. I got a fresh newborn baby.
Yes, I'm so excited.
Yeah,
I'm so excited. I normally like to celebrate my birthday month, but this year I might celebrate like my birthday star sign as soon as it begins.
Yeah, I think that is a swell idea.
Or a cosmic way of celebrating. Mm-hmm. I'm bad about my birthday month. I'm like, oh, it's first day of my birthday month. Better get myself a treat. Second day of my birthday month. Treat yourself all month long. Like I give myself my best Christmas. That's true.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's like, but what would really nourish you? Mm-hmm. What would the most perfect lover who knew you better than you knew yourself, how would they treat you?
Yeah, if you like to read romance novels or watch movies, how would they romance you? You can do that to yourself.
Do it for you, Dan.
Do it for you.
Do it for yourself.
If you're like, I want this drama in my life, we're like, let's give it to ourselves in the most creative way. All right.
See y'all next week.
See ya.
Happy
My eyes are so open. And